Today I'm going to review 3 fantasy novels I read recently. The first will be Priceless by Shannon Mayer. This is first in the Riley Adamson series, and it was written in 2012. Riley is a tracker whose psychic power allows her to track people, and she only uses it for good. Riley takes jobs finding kids no one else can find, usually only charging enough to break even because she's a beautiful person like that. In Priceless, Riley is trying to do just that, but it's a little difficult when the FBI keep trying to arrest her. Her pet werewolf won't stop following her and bringing down the wrath of his pack, and other supernatural creatures continuously get in the way. This was a no thinking necessary, actually please don't think or things might get a little difficult kind of read. There are plenty of inconsistencies that threw me off the story, terrible dialogue, and unexciting chemistry between Riley and her love interest. Not to mention all the dangling plot threads at the end of the story. I will give it this, that I kept reading. I kept wanting to read, so there was some interesting magic in the world, and there were different supernatural creatures that were there, and I did enjoy sort of the background world, but the story itself didn't wow me at all, so I'm not interested in continuing that series. Next is Witch for Hire by N.E. Conneely. It's the first in the Witch for Hire series, and it was written in 2014. Clanless witch Michelle does odd jobs making charms, among other things, and works with the police to solve supernatural crimes. Her current case involves finding escaped man-eating trolls, but of course there are complications on every front possible. I enjoyed the world building and the steady plot development, and some of the background characters were pretty cool, namely the people who lived in Michelle's boarding house. And Michelle wasn't too bad in terms of your average urban fantasy heroine. Overall, a pretty average read. I probably would have liked it better if it weren't for this stupid cryptic elf. His inclusion in the story has zero impact. I could have cut every single part with him out, and I would have liked to, and it wouldn't have impacted the story at all. I'm pretty certain he's only there for a plot to be addressed in a later book. Yeah. So while it was a decent read, I don't feel any desire to continue the series. And finally is Godmother, first in the Godmother series, written in 1994 by Elizabeth Ann Scarborough. This story centers around social worker Rose Sampson, whose wish for her fairy godmother, Felicity Fortune, is to save the people of Seattle from themselves. What follows is a tangle of modern fairy tales and one fairy godmother who's trying to save them all. This is a pretty dark godmother story with some extremely uncomfortable and unwanted scenes. While I can appreciate the underlying message of the book, which seems to be that there are no such things as happy endings, unless you make them yourself, I guess, and that bureaucracy can invade even the most magical of realities, I had a hard time stomaching the harsh realness of the book. It's not a fun read. It's not a bad one, but I think it's not terribly rewarding for the trouble that you have to go through. I do feel that there should be warnings for acted upon pedophilia, because oh wow, I was not expecting that, and I wasn't really happy about it either. So another fairy tales are real story, but darker than I'm even remotely comfortable with, and I like dark fiction quite a bit, but I think this one crosses a lot of lines for me, so I would have a hard time recommending this one for pretty much anyone. So I feel like I should title this The Mediocre 3. I didn't love any of these. I somewhat enjoyed Witch for Hire, and Priceless was a nice no-brainer read, and Godmother God, no. So, yes. If you've read any of these, of course, I am interested in hearing your opinions. I think Priceless, the Riley Adamson series, is kind of popular with the urban fantasy crowd. So if any of you have read that, I'd like to hear your opinion on it. Like, does it get better, in the following books? Same with Witch for Hire, if you've read it. I really enjoyed the world for Witch for Hire, like the magic system and like the sort of background with it. But if it gets better, if the series gets better, I will read more, but I don't know. Please tell me if you've read it. Yes. And if you read and liked The Godmother, or if you read and want to complain about The Godmother, bring it here. All right, until next time.